So it's, I mean, I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business.
So
it's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical... But all the nice, cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business.
On July 17th, the video game retail site Good Old Games, otherwise known as GOG.com, made a tweet advertising the game Postal 2. The tweet reads as follows: "A game that wears its heart on its sleeve. A sleeve that is rarely safe for work. Postal 2, Paradise Lost. No filter, no DRM." The tweet included a screenshot from the game, showing the player pissing on a grave with the name of Games Journalism. This was taken from Postal 2's Gamergate DLC, a tongue-in-cheek mode that included multiple Gamergate references, including allowing players to kill Milo Yiannopoulos. Unsurprisingly, social justice warriors started up the outrage machine. Games journalists crowed in their columns and terrorized on Twitter. GOG was pressured into removing the offending tweet and issuing a public apology. But this article from a relatively unknown progressive gaming site, VG247, caught my eye. VG247 is pulling its support of GOG's storefront for the foreseeable future. The problem is that the GIF can be interpreted as a dog whistle that panders to hate group Gamergate, which itself has been proven to lead to radicalism and even murder. The murder they're referring to via that link is Ralph Retort writer Seattle 4 Truth's murder of his father when he was thrown out of his parents' house. But here's the strange part of the article. Gamergate has destroyed lives, and we're very disappointed that GOG has furthered the divide between those who cover games and a vocal minority that hate games journalists, women, and minorities. We hear this type of thing a lot. SJWs have recognized that simply saying minorities is not enough, because women aren't a minority. So often you'll see them list off a laundry basket full of social classes that they feel need special protection from the patriarchy. Women, people of color, LGBTQIA+ folk, as they like to say, queer people, disabled people, immigrants, undocumented people, etc., etc. And VG247 lumped games journalists into their own specific usage of this phenomenon, as if the profession of journalism was itself a protected class of its own. Although this VG247 article is about gaming journalism, it made me realize that most journalists in general, the progressive-leaning ones anyway, believe that their choice of profession should afford them some type of social privilege and protection within the social justice hierarchy, in much the same way that being gay or black or a woman offers benefits to these oppressed classes. Furthermore, it's the expectation of this protection, and the political right's refusal to acknowledge it, that finally offers a clear explanation for the media's erratic, self-absorbed, and downright immoral behavior since the 2016 election. US President Donald Trump has made the claim that the mainstream media is fake news more times than I can count, going all the way back to 2015.
But I don't watch CNN, so I don't get to see as much as I don't like watching fake news.
Don't we love that term, fake? What we've learned about fake over the last little while. Fake news.
And I want you all to know that we are fighting the fake news. It's fake, phony, fake. Go ahead.
President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization
You are attacking our news organization.
Your organization
Can you give us a
is
chance
terrible.
to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking
categorically,
a question.
Mr.
Don't be rude.
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be rude.
Can you
No,
give
I'm not
us a
going to give you a
question?
question. I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Of the media, he's said, among other things, that they are the true enemy of the people, and that they should stop the endless hostility against him. And any look at the unending, unrelenting media coverage of Trump over the past few years will certainly prove him correct. Attack after attack, hit piece after hit piece, insults and glib remarks and all. Accusations of anti-Semitism, Nazism, fascism, racism, sexism, and as many other isms as you'd like. It's almost all unfounded, and when Trump decides to hit back, he's attacking the media, he's undermining the freedom of the press, he's turning the people against the vaunted institution of journalism. Trump refuses to grant journalists the protected minority status that they view themselves as having. He's punching down while they're punching up. This is why all of Trump's misdeeds make him literally Hitler, literally, while the misdeeds of the media can be ignored or hand-waved away. For example, Project Veritas, a group that goes undercover to record instances of political backchanneling and corruption in both the news media and political campaigns, released a video from behind the scenes at Democratic Senator Claire McCaskill's re-election campaign.
So you would be on board with the bump stocks?
Of course.
Bump stocks,
Oh, I've voted
high capacity mags.
I've voted for most of those things before.
For a ban?
Oh, yeah.
Great, great.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell them, because she does, support a semi-automatic firearm ban. Because I want to say something I shouldn't say.
I think semi-automatic rifle ban.
Okay.
Is more so what you would support.
So here's the real question. Yeah. Claire holds off on impeachment to get the moderates. What do we tell the moderates after we drop the impeachment hammer afterwards? To get over it?
Claire distancing herself from the party is going to help her win more votes than it will. Saying like, oh, here's Obama, the former president of the United States, to now speak on my behalf. Which is unfortunate because I love Obama to pieces, and I'd love to see him come here.
And they essentially have the same views on everything.
Yeah.
You know.
People just can't know that.
What were you telling me last night about Planned Parenthood?
How they don't donate to Claire because they don't want to ostracize pro-life Democrats in Missouri.
So, but they still somehow get us money?
They put it through like different organizations.
Yeah, I think it's like a tactic just to like not make them too far left to try to get the moderate voters.
But we're still going to support abortion, right?
Yes, yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. It's more of like them not like, they go through other means to support and give the money. They just don't directly give the money from their like PACs.
Oh. It's like we have to lie to get elected.
Essentially.
In response to this leak, McCaskill's campaign declared that Project Veritas had not only done something unethical, but illegal, and demanded that the state's Attorney General appoint a special prosecutor to investigate these alleged crimes. Project Veritas is another subject entirely, but anyone with a brain can agree that it is journalism. Unless, of course, you're a person who believes that journalists are a protected class, and for some reason you happen to want the perks of that class stripped away from your political opponents. Like Brian Tao does. He's a journalist for the Wall Street Journal specializing in law. And regarding this Project Veritas leak, he had this to say. Project Veritas is not journalism. Journalists do not misrepresent themselves by setting up stings, with some very rare exceptions. This article would be on better grounds defending them as engaged in protected First Amendment advocacy. Let's put aside the sheer audacity of the claim that journalists do not set up stings for a minute. Project Veritas is journalism. Hell, even most YouTube talking heads can be classified as journalists, though most would reject the label because, unlike a lot of actual journalists it seems, YouTubers recognize that the social rank of journalist not only comes with some legitimate protections, but a lot of responsibility as well. Tao's claim that certain groups of reporters and analysts are not true journalists is a self-destructive claim to make. If you can de-journalist Project Veritas, then certainly others can de-journalist the Wall Street Journal. And that's exactly what's been happening to the Wall Street Journal for years now. Back in early 2017, the Wall Street Journal went toe-to-toe with PewDiePie, taking jokes and clips out of context to make him sound like a racist, a Nazi, an anti-Semite. You know, all of the usual overused angles of attack that we've become so entirely desensitized to at this point that they've lost all meaning. And the rest of the mainstream media, along with gaming and tech journalists, jumped on the bandwagon. Pewds ended up losing a lucrative business deal with Disney over the invented controversy, but it didn't kill his YouTube channel or slow down his growth as the world's biggest YouTuber. And in retrospect, this seemed like the death rattle of old media, lashing out against YouTubers and social media for usurping their role in the cultural consciousness. Journalists were starting to figure out that they no longer had the social privilege as a protected class that they once held, but they failed to recognize that a combination of not keeping up with modern technology and trends, as well as their own behavior, had cost them the trust of the public. And this blatantly false attack on PewDiePie wasn't the beginning, but just another step down a long path of eroded trust in the institution of journalism. The Wall Street Journal hasn't learned from its misdeeds either. A recent trending hashtag, trending until Twitter suppressed it anyway, was hashtag WSJKillsKids. This stems from an event from several weeks ago, where a YouTube livestream show called The Kill Stream ran an event titled The Heal Stream, where all Super Chat money raised would be donated to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Just like the PewDiePie event, the Wall Street Journal saw an opportunity to stick it to both their main competitors and their political opponents. Yuri Ko from the Wall Street Journal emailed the owner of the kill stream, Ethan Ralph, in regards to an upcoming story. I am working on a story about how alt-right personalities have utilized YouTube's super chat function. We're mentioning some of your live streams in the story, including one that was aired and deleted in which you spoke about the Pittsburgh shooting. It appears that the live stream generated over $500 via super chat. Some of the comments, both paid and unpaid, were problematic. For instance, one super chat comment said, "If you want to know if the synagogue shooting was a false flag, then check out the Lucky Larry life insurance policy on those dead Jews." Jesus. Regarding that live stream, did you delete it or was that YouTube? Why? We're also mentioning the Ralph Retorts live stream from September 29th that raised $26,000 for St. Jude's. I wanted to reach out in case you'd like to comment on any of this. I also wanted to confirm that you share the revenue from your super chats with YouTube. Though Ralph would ultimately refuse Coe's request, here's the article that would come from her efforts. Hate speech on live super chats tests YouTube. Feature that gives paid comment special treatment, generates revenue but can include racist comments. And here's a few quotes from this article. During the live stream, which YouTube said Mr. Ralph has since deleted, one user paid £2 to write, "How do you get a Jewish girl's number? Roll up her sleeve." You want to know how, despite the media's kicking and screaming, they still unduly exercise their privileges as a protected class? My quoting that joke will likely get this video demonetized, while Yuri Ko will still be paid by the Wall Street Journal for the exact same content. YouTube said late on Friday that it had permanently removed Mr. Ralph's channel, The Ralph Retort, from its platform for policy violations and for going against its terms of service. Mr. Ralph, whose channel had 22,500 subscribers, is one of several far-right YouTube celebrities who have used the super chat function to make money. Ralph would independently confirm this himself on Twitter, stating that his super chat button would be disabled for his upcoming live streams. On his next stream, he began to criticize the Wall Street Journal on air, and in retaliation, YouTube turned off the stream on their end and suspended all of his channels from the platform. A spokeswoman for YouTube, owned by Alphabet Inc.'s Google, said the company donates to charity the proceeds from any super chats that violate its hate speech policy. Except they don't, because all $26,000 raised by Ralph's stream for St. Jude's is confirmed to have been refunded by YouTube, and St. Jude's has also confirmed that they never had any intention of accepting the money. Both of these revelations came to light, of course, after the Wall Street Journal had a private chat with both YouTube and St. Jude's. This is why the hashtag was WSJ Kills Kids. The Wall Street Journal is willing to deny St. Jude's charity funds, is willing to twist YouTube into breaking its own rules, in order to spite somebody they view as a political opponent. In their eyes, money for charity takes a backseat to potentially offensive speech. And despite any personal differences between Ralph and myself, on principle I cannot support his removal from YouTube. Free speech rights are paramount, even if the speech in question is hateful or stupid. Of course, it's not just the Wall Street Journal committing morally reprehensible acts under the guise of journalism. I'm sure we've all heard about blatant racists like Francesca Ramsey and Sarah Jong moving up the media ranks based on skin color alone. And then there's also lesser-known stories like the tale of Crosswalk Kathy. Various progressive-leaning outlets began to write hit pieces on a private citizen for calling the cops on a black man for parking improperly, with some SJWs going so far as to dox her and smear her as a racist. But eventually, the truth of the matter came out. The woman called the parking authority, not the police, on a vehicle because it was parked in the middle of a crosswalk, and she didn't know the race of the vehicle's owner at all. But since we're on the topic of journalists using their position to attack random citizens guilty of wrongthink, there was also that time that CNN blackmailed a random Reddit user for making this GIF. No, I'm not joking. I did a podcast about it back in the day. But the long and short of it is, the moral paragons over at CNN tracked the poster down, accused him of the usual basket of SJW slurs, and threatened to reveal his identity if he didn't leave the internet. In their self-damning article titled, "How CNN Found the Reddit User Behind the Trump Wrestling GIF." CNN is not publishing Han Asshole Solo's name because he is a private citizen who has issued an extensive statement of apology, showed his remorse by saying he has taken down all of his offending posts, and because he said he is not going to repeat this ugly behavior on social media again. In addition, he said his statement could serve as an example to others not to do the same. CNN reserves the right to publish his identity should any of that change. This is why the protected status of journalists is no longer respected by Donald Trump, by the conservative wing of politics, by most average people. Journalists no longer wield that privilege with restraint and wisdom. Instead, they use it as a bludgeon against their opponents. I could keep going with examples of the media acting ridiculous and irresponsible at best, and immoral and corrupt at worst. Like CNN's Jim Acosta virtue signaling in public over Kanye West saying the word motherfucker in the Oval Office, while in private, DMing fuck you to one of his critics on Twitter. But because I am a gamer, let me indulge a bit with one final example from the gaming industry. BlizzCon 2018 happened recently, and at the event, Blizzard took the opportunity to show off their new Diablo game, Diablo Immortal. Diablo is a long-running, much-beloved PC RPG series, but this latest entry is a phone game. On the gaming side of this story, there was a lot of funny stuff going down, like the crowd heckling the developers, and the developers' exceptionally poor response in return.
We want to use mobile devices as the platform for a new Diablo game, because nothing brings a family together like slaying demons.
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a fully fledged Diablo experience on mobile, which everybody will get to play.
Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
If you want to know more, we'll be back here on the Mythic stage in just a few minutes. We are going to have... Sorry.
Or the company tasking YouTube to delete hundreds of thousands of downvotes and negative comments on the official Diablo Immortal reveal trailers, a fact that can be verified by comparing the live numbers to the numbers tracked on Social Blade. Or that the response was so overwhelmingly negative to Diablo Immortal that all of the Diablo social media accounts switched their icons and official branding from the new Diablo Immortal stuff back to Diablo 3. Or that it was discovered by the internet's greatest autistic minds that Diablo Immortal was outsourced to a Chinese company known for making Diablo mobile ripoffs, and that Chinese company simply took one of their pre-existing games and reskinned it with the Diablo brand, or Blizzard's main competitors directly making fun of the massive Diablo Immortal fumble on social media, or that Blizzard themselves, as an April Fool's joke in 2014, announced a Diablo mobile game specifically making fun of how diluted, dumbed down, and disrespectful to existing IPs that phone games can be, or that the red-shirted bald hero that was willing to stick it to the developers live not only posted on 4chan asking what he should say before it was his turn, but also that his Reddit history showed that he routinely fucks other women with his wife in threesomes. Forget about EA's constant fuck-ups with Star Wars, or Microsoft's self-destruction of the Xbox One by claiming that consumers who don't like it can just play the Xbox 360. I think Blizzard's taken the crown on the best way to shotgun yourself in the face. But while that's all good fun, the relevant part is the journalist response to the outrage. Diablo Immortal is actually fun, you entitled babies. The people that bash on mobile gaming are an offshoot of toxic masculinity. They get off on hating something that they've traditionally associated with a heavily female audience. Don't like playing a specific kind of game on mobile? That's cool. Reject mobile platforms whatsoever and pretend they are inferior. Yeah, that's pretty toxic. This wasn't savagery. It was fucking obnoxious, embarrassing behavior. I get why people are mad, I really do, but you can be critical without being an asshole to people who spend their lives trying to entertain you. Of course, the first thing I see when I wake up is Diablo Immortal haters now saying that BlizzCon was a slap in the face. Eye roll gif. If you can't see the potential of a Diablo game on mobile, you know shit all about video games. The reaction to Diablo Eternal, you got that wrong there, champ. Don't expect any Blizzard shill shekels. The reaction to Diablo Eternal from so many gamers makes me want to not play video games or have anything to do with gaming anymore. Fans react to Diablo Immortal like disrespectful edgelords. Hot take after hot take, shill after shill, virtue signal after virtue signal. Assertions that gamers are man babies, demands that consumers blindly purchase whatever companies give them, accusations that complainers are ungrateful because they dislike a product. Not having learned a single goddamn thing from Gamergate, lefty games journalists demonize their own audience, ignore the legitimate arguments against Diablo Immortal, and side with the $83 billion company over the concerns of an average person. And should you, one of those average people, decide to call them out on this, you'll be contributing to Trump's demonization of the media. You'll be vilifying journalism. You'll be disrespecting the journalist's rightful place as a protected class alongside women and minorities. But the journalist is not a protected class. Maybe in an ideal world, due to the nature of the job that a good journalist should perform, maybe they should be somewhat protected. Exposing corrupt governments or corporations, speaking truth to power, uncovering scandals and holding people accountable. These are the jobs of the journalist. And these are the jobs that we need to see done. Society is better as a whole when a good journalist is successful. But none of the journalists anymore seem to be good. From something as benign as video games all the way up to the White House, journalists have decided that their job is no longer to report on events, but to create the context of those events that people they look down upon must be obligated to consume. Why has this happened? I don't know. Maybe it's because social justice controls both academia and entertainment right now. And the long-term results of that is that SJW kids from 10 or 15 years ago are now SJW journalists today. Maybe it's because, as multiple articles in 2017 pointed out with glee, new studies have shown that journalists' brains function at lower levels than the average person's due to an excess consumption of alcohol, caffeine, and sugar, rendering them unable to think objectively, multitask, problem solve, or be creative. In any case, journalists are not a protected class. As long as they behave so grotesquely, we can never accept them as one. If they want the privilege of social protection in order to do their dangerous work, they need to actually start doing that work again. Until then, they're simply fake news.